to all of our award winners. I will keep this introduction as brief as possible so we can get to the good stuff. This webinar is to present the winning projects in the North Carolina Extension Master Gardener Search for Excellence program. My name is Betsy Muse. I'm an Extension Master Gardener volunteer in Union County, and I am serving as chair of the Endowment Committee. Among other duties, our committee is entrusted with reviewing and judging the Search for Excellence projects in North Carolina. Joining me on the committee, let's see if this will advance, are David Higginbotham from Chatham County, Mickey Levine from Chowan, Gates, and Perquimans counties, Debbie Breck from Buncombe County, and our fearless leader and advisor, Dr. Lucy Bradley, the director of the Extension Master Gardener Volunteer Program, among other hats. I think she wears a lot of them. What is the Search for Excellence program? It is basically a recognition program for Extension Master Gardener volunteers who work throughout the United States, Canada, and South Korea. Search for Excellence has 7 categories in which EMGs can demonstrate their outstanding contributions to their communities. We know that just about everything we do as volunteers is outstanding work for our communities, but not everything is a Search for Excellence project. Here's the agenda for today. We will, if we need to switch it around any because we're waiting for someone, I'm willing to do that. So please don't think it's etched in stone, but we'll try to keep to it as closely as possible. And with that, Brunswick County is up. Brunswick County's project is a year-round edible landscape garden. The category was demonstration garden. The agent is Sam Marshall, and presenters are Craig Farland and Gail Pfeiffer. Would y'all like to share screen, or would you like for me to advance through the slides that I have?
If you can advance the slides, that would be great, Betsy.
Awesome. And let me go ahead and say that because we were sharing images that y'all attached through various different documents and computer types, some of the quality was lost, and I apologize for that.
Okay, that's fine. We understand.
Here we go.
All right, so it's just going to be Craig today. Gail couldn't make it, but I'm going to let Craig do his part and talk to you about the edible landscaping demonstration garden.
Well, good morning. I'm Craig Farland. Very happy to receive this award from your organization. Approximately 2 years ago, myself and the other co-chair, Mary Dixon, we put together a proposal for our Botanical Garden Committee, and we wanted to develop an edible landscape area. We selected an area that was being underutilized in the Botanical Garden, and the proposal was accepted by the Botanical Garden Committee, and we put together the proposal identifying types of plants and how we're going to proceed with setting up the garden. The purpose of the edible landscape garden was really twofold. One, it provides an educational opportunity for visitors that come to the garden to view how you can grow edibles in your natural landscape. And as you can see from the pictures, we have a lot of crepe myrtles and a lot of trees and shrubs throughout, which mainly were never relocated. We just utilized the space under them and to the sides. The second purpose is really to provide a hands-on opportunity for master gardeners to experience growing, designing, and planting. All of our plantings are done from seed and or cuttings that we introduce to the into the garden itself. We have also introduced some pathways which allow visitors to walk and for us to walk and keep up the garden itself. As I said, we propagate from seed and the cuttings in our greenhouse, and we also share, we let some plants go to seed so that we can take the seeds, dry them, and then reuse them for the next year. the plot of land that we are using is rather unique in that it's isolated from the rest of the botanical garden through a driveway. But we have, it's about approximately 2,000 square feet that we've developed. Initially, we only bit off a small portion of it because we were very interested in ensuring that we amended the soil correctly. And so we did it kind of in stages. In our last section, we had a very large oregano bed that we were able to transplant. We took it home ourselves and transplanted a lot of the oregano for ground cover. We've had a lot of fun introducing a variety of different plants. Recently, we had the cool weather crops that we introduced. And of course, these can be very colorful when you think about lettuces and cabbages and broccoli, mustard. So all in all, we've had more fun. We've really learned a lot. Recently, there's a team of 6 of us that we show up once a week on Wednesdays and dedicate either our work in the garden itself and or the hoop house and in the greenhouse. But we stepped back and we looked at everything and we said, by gosh, I think we've achieved the objectives, because this year we had a number of garden clubs that came and were interested in seeing. And so we hosted a number of tours, as well as other interest groups that were interested in coming to see how we introduce crops. So in summary, we really felt very comfortable with the 2 objectives that we set out to achieve, and it's been a tremendous amount of fun for us to have the benefit of harvesting the crops, which we give to the extension staff here, and we also take home for our own use. Thanks again for this opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you, and job well done. It's beautiful. Sampson County. Sampson County Symposium. The category is lecture, demonstration, and workshop. The agent is Brad Hardison, and our presenter is Mary Burke Bass. Is Mary on the call? I don't know that Mary was able to make it, but I can tell you a little bit about the project. The Sampson County project included a lecture, demonstration, and hands-on workshop that targeted the residents of Sampson and neighboring counties. The goal was to teach the participants how to grow, maintain, and harvest their own herbs, and how to use these herbs for medicinal and culinary purposes to promote a healthier lifestyle. Seats were full during the symposium, and attendees came from all walks of life. Most participants indicated that their knowledge of herbs and their uses was low before attending the workshop. After the workshop, a survey was conducted of the participants, and 60% said they would start their own herb garden at home, while 25% said they were already tending an herb garden. 86% of attendees said that they would use the recipes provided while cooking at home. This was an excellent opportunity to help people learn a better way of cooking without using so much salt and sugar. It also served as a great recruiting opportunity for the Sampson County Master Gardener Group. I'll show you the handful of pictures, and we're sorry Mary wasn't able to be on the call. Johnston County, and I don't know if Esther has the phone number and has called in. Johnston County is the Trojan Green Thumb Gardens. Category is special needs audience. The agent is Marshall Warren, and our presenter is Esther Garner.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Oh, good. Okay. It's actually a first. Miss Esther could not be in my office, but I have her on my phone on FaceTime. And she'll be talking about the Trojan Green Thumb garden she has at the South Johnston High School. And I'll turn it over to Miss Esther.
Oh, good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, great. It's quite a privilege. Thank you so much for this honor. We started our garden probably when I was working at the school before 2013, and then I retired. And so I became a master gardener, and it was a perfect opportunity to expand on our garden stuff. So over the last couple of years, we had the nursery class at our school was dissolved, and we got the chance to have a space for a new garden. We already had some raised beds with herb. We had two herb beds and some vegetables in a 14 by 4 rate. But then we got the opportunity to have this playground out behind the classroom that this class is in, this life skills class is in. And so we're converting it gradually over to a garden space, like with benches, and we'll have tables out there. The teacher has also applied for a grant through Lowe's, and it's going to get that in this year, so we'll have for the springtime garden. But this is going to really help us with our gardening, and the kids learn. Sometimes we plant our seeds and we grow from there. We get plants from our master gardeners that have community gardens in Clayton. We get plants from them. We get plants from our ag department there at the school. They've all been in and helped. They helped us build the biggest bed that we have, the one the kids are in right here, that we plant in, and that was built about four years ago. And so we add amendments to that each year. But we're going to do a soil test on that this year because our plants aren't doing as well as they should. So that's going to be a new experience for the kids, and we'll do that. But we cook and we eat. We made pasta from our basil just a couple of weeks ago. It was really, made some pesto from our basil. That worked out real well. We cook everything we grow, and we eat it too. So it works out really good for the kids, and they enjoy working in there. They look forward to it.
That's wonderful, Esther. I think this is a picture of the playground. Is this a before picture?
That's it. That's it. A blank slate right there. Yep.
I should have shown this one first.
Yeah, that was it. And we have some planters out there. We have some big pots and some medium-sized pots. And there was a sandbox that we converted to a pallet garden. We painted the pallets different colors and planted flowers and greens out there. And that did real well this year. So we'll take that up. And after Christmas, we'll take that up and let the slats dry and paint them again and put it back down for the springtime. We do stuff kind of rotating around out there. We have some pea trellises over the jungle gym out there, so we grow peas over there. We did that last year, and they did real well. And climbing tomatoes. So the kids enjoy it. It's just different stuff for them to work with, and they enjoy getting out there. I have some dedicated gardeners that water every day when it's hot and dry. That works out good too.
Well, thank you so much for the work you're doing with the life skills class, and job well done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And Buncombe County created a healing garden at Veterans Affairs Community Center in Asheville.
What?
Their category is special needs audience.
You just worn yourself out talking about that grant.
Well, I did. I just did that.
The agent is Allison Arnold, and the presenters are Suzanne Wodek and
I
Mary.
think it would be good if
Betsy, I cut you off just a second ago to be able to close all the mics down.
Okay.
So sorry for that.
Would you like for me to read this card again?
Start at the special needs.
Okay. Category is special needs audience. Agent is Allison Arnold, and the presenters are Suzanne Wodek and Mary Huggenschmidt. Are Suzanne and Mary on the call? Oh, we can't hear you. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. You want to, there, fantastic. Thank you for putting the pictures up.
You're welcome.
Well, we are working with the Community Living Center, which is part of the Charles E. George Regional Medical Center for Veterans here in Asheville. And our original call came from the brand new director of the center.
Mary, if you can talk just a little bit louder.
Okay.
Get a little closer to the mic. That's good.
Okay. The CLC is the Community Living Center, which is the long-term care center for the Charles V. George Regional Medical Center here in Asheville. And our original call came from the new director, Dr. Molly McGahee. Her concern was that the garden at that point I think I can most tactfully say was a total jungle. And she had a great desire to get the residents outside and involved in nature as much as possible. The West Asheville Lowe's had gotten a grant, and they were coming in to do a lot of renovations, but she wanted our input and our take on how to best utilize the area for the patients. If you look in the picture that's showing, you'll see that when Lowe's came in, they did some things, after we had some discussions, they put in some raised beds, wheelchair height raised beds, and some other things that you can't see, so to draw people into the garden. There are about 500 residents in the inpatient care center, some of them actually permanent residents. Dementia care, mental health, wound care, care for individuals, hospice care, short-term rehabilitation. There are a lot of different reasons that vets come. There are about 120 to 130 staff members in the building as well, on a round-the-clock, 7-day rotation. So when we looked at what they were requesting nature, and they wanted access to nature. So after Lowe's came in and did the renovation, and we did assist a little bit with that, we took up the care of the garden and moved it from the garden that was put in, which was
Getting softer.
we moved it from the garden that was put in into a garden that incorporated the natural elements that Dr. McGahee and the residents want. We talked with them. They wanted birds. They wanted animals. So they wanted something year-round. So that's how we began with the healing garden, and putting in the elements that go into a healing garden. What we found is that there are actually staff members who come to the garden, and they will thank us, and they will sit in chairs and just take breaks. And again, we've been told, you know, how important this is to them. If you look in this picture, you'll see some of the things that we use to plant. We do use unusual things in some cases, doing things where the gentlemen in wheelchairs or on walkers can reach them. And in the background, if you'll notice, there is a pink flamingo. There are 2 of them, whose names change depending on the residents. The pink flamingo moves around the garden, and each week when we come to work in the garden, we move the flamingo, and we try to tuck them into places so that people can explore. And there's a little note on the door saying, you know, can you find the flamingos? So it's kind of like a little way to get people to actually move into the garden, for people who are visiting with the patients to have something to talk about and something to do while they're there. We also have a second program. This is our part of our Hardy group. You can see working. We have approximately anywhere between 8 and 12 people active in the garden. So it's a bi-weekly thing to keep this garden up and going. We've just put it down for the winter, and have gone in and decorated some of the trees with Christmas decorations and things to make it more cheerful for the gentlemen who come into the garden, and for the families who come into the garden. This year, we have just had so many people stop to thank us, and it's been families who've been visiting, it's been patients in the hospital, it's been staff members. Patients will often come and tell us something they'd like to see in the garden, something they'd like to have planted that they remember from home or they remember from their past. And we always try to honor that. If we get a special request, we try to find the plant, and we try to honor the requests that the folks make to us. What we have found is a lot of people have gained interest in different aspects of planting, and we work with the group. The garden also serves as the foundation for our gardening club, which is folks who are patients come out and garden with us, and we do that every other week also. Would you like to put in some of your observations?
Well, the thing that is amazing is that when people will be out working in the garden periodically, and people will just stop by, visitors, patients, families, and just thank us so much for what we've done to the garden. It's just an inspiration for them. We try to put in textures, color, scents, So it's a healing garden. It's in essence, it's a healing garden because of all of those things. And we have seasonal interest in there too. This obviously was in the summertime when we did this, but we have seasonal interest. And it's just amazing that they take the time to come over and thank us for that.
We also have some points of humor. We kept finding a plant that we couldn't quite figure out what it was. And so one day we pulled him up and found a peanut on the end. And we discovered that one of the residents had a thing about feeding the squirrels. So it began kind of a family joke among all of us working there and the patients about the squirrel farmers who were planting the peanuts. The little things like that pop up too.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much and job well done.
Thank you.
Cleveland County. Cleveland County, I should say that Buncombe and Cleveland were presented awards in person, and Cleveland did a non-traditional landscape demonstration for an office building. The category is demonstration garden. Agent is Julie Flowers, and I don't believe we have any presenters on today. Am I wrong? Okay, all right. This is the Cleveland County Extension Master Gardener's Landscape Demonstration Garden. It's a non-traditional landscaping garden that involved clearing out old shrubbery and wiregrass. The Cleveland County's Master Gardener program only started in 2012, so this was a huge project for a newly established group to undertake. They did the work in phases and planned the garden around the resources available. Planning included solving a water issue in one bed with a Japanese-inspired dry creek bed and making sure 2 new beds between buildings provided airflow for the newly planted HVAC units. Maintenance of the garden has included dealing with the drought of 2015, which required a more frequent watering schedule, and working around code requirements for trees near parking areas. This is a project that has spanned a few years, starting from the very beginning of their Master Gardener group, and it is ongoing. The biggest lesson learned is how to communicate from year to year so that future volunteers understand how and why this project was started, as well as communicating season to season what needs to happen in the garden. I didn't advance the pictures. They sent PowerPoint, so it was easy to work into the presentation. This is their first work day. You can see they're all very tired. They said they used a lot of rocks because you don't have to water rocks. Although I know people who try. That's the front entrance circle. This is part of the dry creek bed, and in their presentation they say that the maintenance, county maintenance was delighted that they solved a standing water issue with the dry creek bed. And you can see this is an old antique, I guess a plow, tiller. Okay, Chatham County. Chatham, the project name is The Amazing World of Butterflies. Category is youth. Agent is Charlotte Glenn. And our presenters are Lucille Zane and Barbara Farrington.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for the excellence recognition because we had such a rewarding time and experience with this. Many of us were teachers and it got us back in the classroom and we were thrilled with that. Our purpose was to partner with our 4-H in the county, our 4-H clubs, and they already presented a butterfly life cycle package to the 2nd grade schools in the county, and we chose to work with one school at the 2nd grade level. But we began in the summer of 2016 to familiarize ourselves with the material and working with children by presenting 5 days of lessons during the 4-H summer camp in Chatham County. However, the program was updated at the state level with a new statewide curriculum based on the North Carolina Essential Standards in Science, and Chatham County was chosen to participate in the pilot rollout. So we needed to report results, and we needed to gear up and revamp our 5 lesson plans to match the new curriculum. The lessons were presented in pairs to 4 second grade classrooms at an elementary school in Siler City, and the students would raise painted lady butterflies from caterpillars through the chrysalid to adult stage. The objectives included knowing the parts of the animals at each stage, the habitat and food during each stage, the function of the animal at each stage of the life cycle. And our goals were to reach the youngest minds to instill an environmental stewardship through a subject already fascinating to them, the amazing world of butterflies' needs, habits, life cycle, body parts, the special role of pollinators, and the ways people can help. It was a small thing. Expanding the educational outreach mission through initiating and building relationships with the school system. Our support of one cooperative extension program with another, so the extension master gardeners were helping the 4-H. And to provide research-based information to county residents, both children and adults. And the challenges involved were many, but always funding is the major challenge. And our people were very successful. We were able to acquire donations to our Agricultural Foundation Enhancement Fund from the fellow EMGs and their families and friends, and our original goal of $800 was exceeded to reach $1,080. Then we supplemented that by posting our need on the Chatham County chat list, a countywide email list. And donations were obtained from a local business, the Country Farm and Home in Pittsburgh, to supply us with seeds and starting kits to grow 110 fennel plants for the children to take home as host plants for swallowtail butterflies to cultivate their own backyard garden. That was one of the things we wanted to help them increase their knowledge and then put it to use. And finally, our team applied for a grant from Walmart Community Grant. We received $850 to purchase 110 National Geographic Kids Caterpillar to Butterfly books, to give one to each student to keep and enjoy over and over. And this was because our choice of schools serves a poor community, and we felt that these children, they didn't have a book at home. They really were going to be unknowledgeable about butterflies, period, and that this experience would open a world for them. And we wanted them to be able to share that world with their family, with their parents, and maybe brothers and sisters. And we were able to give each child a book, and we were very proud of that. The new 4-H curriculum, though based on the North Carolina state criteria, was aimed at a very diverse population of ages and venues, from second grade to high school and classroom to clubs. So we had to adjust and evaluate the proposed state curriculum for grade appropriate material that we could incorporate into our lesson plans. Our team had participated in the 4-H summer camp to become familiar with the material and the children's reaction, abilities, and interest. We set out to develop those lessons learned as we created our new lessons. One of our strengths was we were able to recruit several ex-teachers, and that really was a basis for our committee, that we could pair a classroom teacher with someone who was just so excited to be the aide in the classroom. And our team worked as closely as possible with school officials and the teachers themselves to coordinate the logistics and the materials. We met in the classroom twice with our teachers to get a feel for them and what they knew about their students, that they could give us a heads up. We also coordinated a training day with the head of the 4-H team who was writing the new curriculum, so she could tell us how they envisioned it. And a real brief run through of our lesson plans. If we want to switch back to those pictures again, they are of our classrooms. Our first lesson was Sensory World of Butterflies, which was an introduction to the life stages. And in each instance, we had a a lesson, but then an activity that would reinforce it, and something the children, again, could take home with them, a craft that they could show off at home and reinforce their learning. So the first one was creating individual scientific journals with a three-dimensional butterfly. This one is our lesson on caterpillars, which was the very next lesson plan. The activity on this one, they loved. They got to either, as pairs, drink water through a proboscis. They couldn't touch anything. They were butterflies and had to drink through a straw, or they had to eat chips without their hands as a caterpillar. So we were introducing them to different foods and the challenges of a butterfly and a caterpillar to get their food without their hands. The next lesson, and I don't know if the picture is going to be it, but was Transformers, the butterfly kind, and that was an introduction to metamorphosis of the pupa stage, and we were able to purchase supplies beyond our craft supplies, hand lenses for each classroom, so that they could inspect the caterpillars and the pupa, the chrysalis, and learn that the pupa is really growing inside, and they could name the parts of the future butterfly right there in the pupa. The lesson of pollination sweet rewards was a tough one. We didn't know what they would know about pollination, and they did not. It was very exciting to give them that knowledge of what we take for granted, that bees and butterflies pollinate flowers. And the craft there was to create a flower with a cup inside of it. It was, I'm sure that one of these pictures, if you'll move forward, the flower was not an easy thing, but they were able to do that with a cup inside of it, and then again drink nectar through a straw. And the last lesson was Flitter, Flutter, Moth or Butter, and that was comparing butterflies and moths. And differences, there's similarities, but especially the differences. And so brought up adaptations, camouflage, mimicry, and the five senses. And the craft in that one, well, they again were using their hand lenses to, all the master gardeners captured moths and froze them. I know that's terrible, but we froze them and were able to bring moth bodies into the classroom, and the children could really inspect the moths with their hand lenses. And this picture I know is in there of the teacher. We dressed each of the real classroom teachers as a butterfly, and they had...
Not letting me go back.
Oh, okay. They had their body parts where they would be on a butterfly. So there were noses on the antennae and a proboscis in their mouth, and ears were on their knees. The children just loved it, and so did the teachers. They had a ball. Our impact, we feel, was that 4-H was very pleased with the resulting test scores. There was a pre-test and post-test, and the increase in knowledge was at 62%. There we go. There's our teacher. She has, I was saying that the head doesn't show her antennae with the noses on it, but the black dots are how she breathes. The eyes were wiggly eyes, where they could see that they had compound eyes, and the kids just had a ball with that. The team was then able to go on to do another summer camp. We were able to take those lessons that we learned in the classroom and move it on to a summer camp. The comments from the school were very, very positive. The principal expressed that with 8 to 10 lesson plans a day, the teachers could never have incorporated this new curriculum. They wouldn't have been able to do it. She appreciated that we scaled back from 9 to 5 lessons, which was more capable for us and the classroom to be in there, but we were able to still follow through on our promise to the children, which was, again, very important for that dynamic and demographic, that we promised we would be back, and we did come. So that was something she appreciated. 90% of that school's population are living at a poverty level and lead a very sheltered life. And the principal felt the extension of Garner's involvement provided exposure to real-world experience, academic vocabulary, various communication styles, and people from different cultures and ages, which she felt was so important to them, more than just the education. She wants us back, which is always the sign of success. We're going to be back there next year. And the lessons we learned were that there is a very diverse population in the county to be reached, and it's not only adult. Children are inquisitive and enthusiastic to learn the extension vision of a healthier world through environmental stewardship, and that's where we need to start with the children. It will require more volunteers to work in smaller groups to further enhance learning in larger terms, and that we should begin with a smaller number of lessons, building to more. We should decide on a realistic number, then cut it in half. And in closing, I'd like to say that where Jerry Bordeaux's name appears with Barbara Farrington on our award request, I'm speaking to you today. Jerry passed away very suddenly this summer. She was the most knowledgeable in education, and this is Jerry. You've happened to land on Jerry on the screen. In education, but there wasn't much she didn't know for very long. She was our avid researcher and a wealth of information. This team will miss her, and we dedicate this Excellence Award in her name. And thank you so very much for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Beautiful work. Now we're on to Wake County. Ready, Garden, Grow, an introduction to vegetable gardening. Category, workshop or presentation. Agent, Gina Myers, and our presenter is Carla Berryann.
Hi, Betsy, and hello, everybody. This is Carla. First, Wake County is very thankful and pleased to be recognized with this award, so thank you very much. And I also must start by saying thank you to my partner in crime who helped develop this class, which is Robin Baumgart, and the probably dozen, maybe 16 master gardeners who actually taught the class, which, you know, when you really get down to whether it worked or not, how they taught it made the class very successful. So what did we do? It'll seem a little crazy because I know we all have vegetable gardening presentations that we take out to the folks in our counties. But we wanted to do something that would really impart deep skills to the attendees. And when we looked at the portfolio of what we had and what was available to us, what we found is most presentations were geared to be a 30-minute discussion, maybe tops an hour. And they really weren't sufficient if you wanted somebody to walk away with confidence that they could start their own vegetable garden. So we decided to put together some comprehensive training, and we had a couple of goals in mind when we did it. The first was to teach a beginning gardener, so it was clearly targeted to beginners, the basic skills required to, to plan and maintain a vegetable garden so that they would have a high level of confidence as they left the class to go start their own garden. We also wanted to build student awareness of how to find research-based resources to help with their gardening efforts. And we wanted to package the education in a way that it would be useful and could be used by counties across our state. So those were the three goals we had in mind. The class was targeted to adult students. We did have some families attend the class, which was kind of fun, and it wasn't a problem for us at all. But we tried to make the materials flexible enough that we can use them in other settings. And in fact, we're going to use them to target some education to low-income residents, as well as there's some other things we're investigating in how we might use the materials. So we try to make them flexible as we develop them as well. What we did is we taught 3-hour classes. We taught them in our local libraries. We're fortunate to have a good regional library system here in Wake County that offers free facilities, which was really great. And they offer a lot of support, like advertising the class and things like that. So we did 5 classes in our first year. And what we did, and all of these materials will be available to any county that would like to use them, is we developed a set of PowerPoint charts. It's about a 90 chart presentation, so you have to keep a good pace as you go through the class, but it certainly is doable. We also provide the students with a set of handouts that they can take home and that they can use as a reference as they start their own garden. And those included, you know, a copy of the charts, what we call a North Carolina Common Crop Chart, which is really, we've all seen the planting guides that are available to us, but what we did was take the planting guide for Central North Carolina, and we added more information to it so it can be a one-stop place for somebody to figure out how to plan their garden. We included a soil testing kit, a planting plan, and an additional resource list. We also provided a survey, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The last thing we did is we developed a handbook that students had the option to purchase. It was a modest purchase, $5 our cost of printing it. And that handbook was really excerpts from our Extension Master Gardening Guide. And so you know, when you look at our Master Gardening Guide, the Extension Handbook, it is a wealth of information, but it is much broader than vegetable gardening. So we just wanted to bring out the segments that had to do with vegetable gardening, add a few tools into it, and repackage it so the students could walk away with that if they chose to. If somebody didn't want to purchase the book, we made it available on the web as well, so they could always go get it online. So the cost of running the class was pretty modest. We could do a class for about 25 attendees at a cost of about $1 a person, and that really was our copying costs. And that was, you know, we utilized all the coupons we could find and get good deals at the local, you know, copy shop, but, you know, we were able to keep the costs down. And also, as I said before, we did ask the students to reimburse the cost of the printing of the book if they wanted that. We also have available as part of this Ready Garden Grow class package, our teacher instructions, which just give a lot of tips and were helpful to our teachers as they prepared for a class, set up a class, and taught the class. We had great results in the first year. We had over 113 students, and we did surveys. As I mentioned before, we passed out a survey, and what we did is we tried to keep it very simple. We asked them a question: how confident do you feel about growing your own vegetables? And we, you know, before you came in the door, and then after you're leaving this class. And what we found is that the students reported a 1.5 point increase on a scale of 5 in their confidence to start a vegetable garden. So we felt that was a very good start. And clearly they also left with our Master Gardener hotline card. So if they got started and they got stuck, they knew how to get a hold of the Master Gardeners for additional help. We are going to do the class again this year. We have reserved the libraries. We've expanded to 6 sites this year. And we have a number of new people in the organization signing up to help teach the classes based on their experience in assisting with some of them last year. So we're very excited to offer it again, and very excited to make it available to any of you that choose to use it. So thank you, Betsy, and thank you, team.
Thank you, Carla. Great work. Edgecombe County, Edgecombe Extension Master Gardener Demonstration Gardens. Category, Demonstration Garden. The agent is Art Bradley, and our presenters are Kim Page and Bob Casanova.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. All right. I'm on the air. Yeah, this is Bob Casanova. And first, thanks for this recognition. This is really a boost for the Master Gardeners here in Edgecombe County, so we really appreciate it. And
Oh no, I think we had a.
You know what? In some of areas, the streaming is really slow, so it might help if folks turned off their video for right now, and that would be less having to go across the line, and that might make it work better for these guys in Edgecombe. We might, Betsy, it might work to go to another county and come back. Maybe he'll be able to log back on.
Okay. Gaston? Gaston County, this is a long title. ComServe Inc., Creative Opportunities, CSCO, Garden Projects and EMG Days at CSCO, supported by the Extension Master Gardener Group of Gaston County. The category is Special Needs Audience. Our agent is Julie Flowers, and our presenter is Barb Linster.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. First of all, I want to thank you for this award because we really appreciate it. And in my opinion, as a presenter, I think it's probably one of the most rewarding and best outreach projects that we have. In creative, I'm just going to shorten the title of the group as Creative Opportunities. It is a day facility for developmentally challenged adults. And there's anywhere from 30 to 50 participants there a day, and they're picked up by a van and taken there, and they spend the day. And we consider this project a real cooperation between their group and Extension and us. In 2012, an employee there by the name of Nelda Hanna, and I think her title is Support Employment Coordinator. She's a social worker of sorts. She approached our Extension agent, Julie Flowers, that they really wanted to start a garden project for their participants, and that they really did not have a budget for that, and nor did they have the skill set for it. Could the Extension and Master Gardeners help? So what Julie thought that it was a great idea, and she told Nelda that if she went back to her employer, if they allowed her to leave work and attend the class and become a Master Gardener so that there would be an Extension Master Gardener on site, she would waive the fee for her to attend the class. And that's exactly where that started. So, and I believe there was a slide before this. Nelda took the class. You know what? They're in reverse order, but it's okay. I think there's a slide where you see wood being, there you go. So Nelda took the class, and then Nelda approached our Master Gardener group. Would we be willing to help with this project? And we gave them like $100 or $150 to help with building these raised beds. Other community groups donated the soil and other materials, and they built raised beds with volunteers and their own participants and employees and Master Gardeners help. And they also have a raised seed table so that people in wheelchairs can start plants from seed and pull in with their wheelchairs. And so the first year in 2012, they actually harvested 1,000 pounds of produce, and that's in the first year. And they intended to sell the produce and have the participants learn how to make change and money and all that. But as it turns out, a lot of the participants come from poor backgrounds and were not in situations where basically they had a lot of fresh produce available to them. So as it turns out, it ended up being that all the produce goes to the participants, people in their neighborhood, and since they have a van, they basically deliver their produce and it goes into the community where it's actually needed. So it actually ended up being a better project than we thought it would be. And this picture here that you see, and the lady with her hands up is Nelda, that is the master gardener, but also works there. This canopy here is the farmer master gardener. We call him our master gardener, farmer extraordinaire, is David Thornburg. He has a farm on property his family has lived in since like the 1700s, and he is their garden advisor from our master gardener group. And if they need equipment, he takes his equipment there. There's just a beautiful arrangement between that group and David. And in this picture, this was in 2016, David went on vacation for 2 weeks, and he asked the Creative Opportunities folks to harvest his farm for those 2 weeks, and they donated in those 2 weeks 3,000 pounds of produce. We also have there at the facility, second Tuesday of every month, we have a Master Gardener Day because all of the participants are not able to work out in the garden. And that's a craft activity that relates to gardening. And it's also a learning experience. So, for example, one month they made necklaces that looked like watermelons, but they learned the nutritional value of watermelons, and they ate watermelon, and there's learning to it. And they made another time they made sunflowers, so they learned about the benefits of sunflowers. In this particular picture here, and we've had 2 participants that have actually taken the Master Gardener class and have become Master Gardeners, and they volunteer there, and they also volunteer at some of our activities. And this fellow that you see, and I can't tell if he's holding a beet or a turnip, but that's Tim Pearson. He is one of the participants, and he is one that has taken our class. And this garden is a heritage garden that is in a park of our county that's right by our extension office. And the preservation board for our county asked the Master Gardeners and it's a 1700s typical village, if we would plant a heritage garden. Well, the Creative Opportunity folks actually weed and water that garden, and they also start the heirloom plants from seed for us. So they've learned about heirloom plants, and they volunteer at things like this. And they actually volunteer more willingly at some things that some of our own members do because they have such a vested interest in this garden. And this year, and I'm a communications person, so I go to these things to take pictures. And I took this picture, but I witnessed Tim actually telling someone in the fall all about the winter garden and what would be growing and why it would be growing. Now, this was a guy that in 2012 called every plant a petunia. So, truthfully, like I said, I know his family, so that he's one that I know a little bit about. And the beauty of this project, it gives these people a reason to get up off of their sofa, to go somewhere. It gives them a sense of purpose. And they want to give back to their community. They don't want to just play games and do things. They want to live a real adult life as best possible. And I think that's pretty much it. We have a number of volunteers that work there on a month-to-month basis, and they just love our programs. And 2 of their participants have become Master Gardeners. They were vetted that they have the social skills and the ability to do that. And it's just been a great ongoing project, and we consider it a cooperation.
Thank you, Barbara. That was wonderful. Great stories.
There's more. I could talk about it for, for hours. It's just, there really are a lot of good stories.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Moore County, the flagship garden. And I think Moore County is going to be online sharing their own screens. Category is demonstration garden. Agent is Taylor Williams. And our presenters are Cheryl Stuckey, Angie Priest, Larry Allen, Betty Dew, and John Bowman, or Bauman. Sorry, John, if I messed up your name. Would y'all like for me to stop sharing so you can share screen?
Sure. Yeah. Betsy, it says that we can't start our videos because you have stopped it. The host has stopped it.
I think Lucy.
So good morning from Moore County. We're last but not least. We wanted to share with you a little bit today about our flagship garden, which is a water-wise garden focused on North American plants. And we'd like to show you a picture of our flagship garden identification system that we have in the Ag Center. So if you look at the map, you can see that the garden is divided into 3 sections. We have a north section, which is native herbs, which is the top section of the map. To the left is our southwest section, and that's our native wildflower sections. And then you have on the far right our east section, which is native drought tolerant sections. We also have handouts that people can take when they come into the Ag Center, which gives the botanical names as well as the common names, and each of the plants are numbered to match the map that you were just looking at. And also at the bottom of the map, we have pictures of what each of the plants look like in their mature state. So this map is located inside the Ag Center and is available for all the public. We have a wide, diverse audience that comes to the Ag Center because it is used for a variety of different educational and classroom settings. And so now what I would like to do is Larry is going to show you the garden outside and talk a little bit about our opportunities, and then John will talk about the goals.
The garden, as you can see, is located outside of the Ag Center here in Moore County. We basically inherited a completely unkempt area, and we plowed it up last fall and began putting plants in this spring, and then replanted some that we didn't. The garden was already divided into 3 major sections, as Betty pointed out inside, and each section has a theme: native herbs, pollinators, or zoo. As you can also see, as I pan around here, we have, this is an area of municipal buildings, the health department, so we have a lot of traffic here. So we wanted to create an educational garden that would give people an idea of some things they could do in their own landscape to create both water-wise use and native plant use. One of the major features of the garden is that we have each plant identified with a tag. The tag contains a number, which is corresponds to the number inside, and it also contains something called a QR code, which you can see, and the person who comes to the garden as a visitor can use his or her smartphone and your application to get more information about every plant in the garden. We think this is an interesting feature. We had several issues that came along with the garden. First of all, when we brought some soil in, the soil that came in had a lot of nutgrass seed in it, so we've had some weeding issues. We've got a little bit too much water on some of the xeriscape plants early, and so we had an issue with that. But overall, it's been a wonderful experience. The county has provided a great deal of funding for this. They bought the plants for us and helped us with the installation. But the sections were designed, each section was designed by a team of master gardeners, and the person who spearheaded this entire project was Cheryl Stuckey, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today. She has pneumonia, I think. So we're sorry, Cheryl. I hope you're listening, and thank you for all you did for this wonderful project here in Moore County. John Bowman is also with us today, and he's going to talk a little bit about the goals of the project.
Good morning, everybody. Wanted to talk about some of the goals of our flagship garden. Most importantly, we wanted to provide an outdoor classroom in the form of an educational garden for both visitors and school children. And if you remember, our garden is located right outside of our Ag Extension building. The second goal was to provide a laboratory setting for our Master Gardener education program. Most of those classes take place in the building. Thirdly, we wanted to present an aesthetically pleasing example of native plants to would-be gardeners. I think there's a growing recognition of the importance of native plants in our landscape. We wanted also, fourthly, to give visitors numerous examples of drought-tolerant plants to use in their own landscapes. Our particular garden location receives full sun. It's in the middle of a kind of a traffic circle, and so it gets very, very hot in the summertime. So the importance of drought-tolerant plants was a major goal of our garden. And then lastly, we wanted to utilize the latest technology, as we saw the QR codes and easy-to-read labels identifying the 45 odd plants that are in the garden in terms of their botanical and common names. So that was our goals. Betsy, we would like to thank you and the members of your committee for the recognition that this award gives our project.
Well, job well done. You earned it. I have spoken with Art Bradley, and Edgecombe County is able to be on the call. So I'm going to share screen once again and see if we can make this work this time.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, Barbara.
Yeah, short and sweet.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, this is Bob Casanova. Sorry we lost you before. Well, thanks. I'm not sure at what point you lost us before, but I'll just start over. Yeah, thanks for this recognition. This really gives a lot of inspiration to our master gardeners here in Edgecombe County, and we really appreciate it. Just a personal note about my activities in gardening. I really like the soothing nature of gardening and being outside, and I do a lot of nature photography, so it really is an inspiration to me. We not only participate in the gardens here at Edgecombe County, part of the Master Gardener program, but we have our own gardens at home that provide a lot of opportunities for photography. But this project is a sort of a coalescence of all of our activities here at the Edgecombe Master Gardener program. It begins, of course, with contacting people who would be willing to host one of our gardens, and we do fundraising, and we try to aim the total activity at education and inspiration for citizens as well as students. And so over the last few years, we've had a number of projects at elementary schools. We have currently 3 active projects at elementary schools, 1 middle school, and then in the towns of Pine Tops and Tarboro. And of course, you can't do this without money. And so we do a lot of fundraising also. Once a year, we have a plant sale where plants from the master gardeners' personal gardens, as well as plants from the local commercial growers, are sold at this plant sale. And it's a pretty big activity. It lasts all day, and we raise a lot of money. We've also raised a little bit of money from being part of the fair here at Rocky Mount. We've had a booth there, and we've won 2 blue ribbons and some funding as part of that, and we use that to buy plants for all of our activities. Several of our gardens are certified Monarch way stations, and so we've had that kind of recognition, and actually lots of activities from all of our gardeners. The picture you see there is our group that worked in our pollinator garden, which is right here at the administration building here in Tarboro. This was a very successful garden and is growing extremely well. In fact, a couple times a year we have to prune it back because it's spilling over into the parking area. Let's see, what else? I think that's basically it. Sorry, I can't rattle on as long as some of the others, because I think we have had lots of activities here. The picture you see there is the Master Gardener plant sale. We typically will have several hundred people that show up, and we'll raise $2,000 to $3,000 each time we do this. Do you have a picture of some of the other gardens? I think there should be a picture there of the Monarch way station at the pollinator garden.
The Monarch way station.
And also a picture. Oh, there we go. There we go. There's Peggy Weatherford, one of our master gardeners, who is manning the raffle booth. And there's the pollinator garden work group. We have a total of 28 active master gardeners. And typically we'll have 8 to 15 people showing up at work days at our gardens. So that's essentially it. We feel like we've integrated the essence of the Master Gardener program here with a number of gardens and fundraising activities. And again, we really appreciate the recognition.
I want to just give a quick shout out to Colby Griffin, who at the time a lot of this work was being done was the county horticulture agent. He has moved on to Franklin County, and so we listed Art Bradley on the screen as the lead agent, but many thanks to Colby for all the work that he did before he moved on.
Yes, Colby, if you're listening, I'm sorry to have slighted you.
No. I mean, it was Art is the point person now, but I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Well, Edgecombe, that you've taken on an awful lot of gardens for a group of 28 people, and that takes a tremendous amount of work and dedication on everyone's part. We have a much larger group in Union, and we can round up 8 to 10 too, but we're working with a much larger group, so job well done. I think that's all. Congratulations again. Thank you for participating. We are working on restructuring, hopefully, the application so that it's still in line with the national and international guidelines, but also so that it's easier to submit and easier to judge. It takes a tremendous amount of time to go through each application. We want to encourage more of them, which means we need to make it easier to go through them and make sure we're judging like apples to apples. The new deadline is April 1st, so get your projects ready. Thank you again.
And I have a quick announcement for you guys before we sign off. Just a huge thank you to the team who did all the work of soliciting and evaluating and announcing and then celebrating the success of all the work around the state. And I wanted you guys who are online today to be the first ones to know that we have a new state Extension Master Gardener coordinator who will be starting on January 16th. I am delighted to tell you that Charlotte Glenn has accepted the position as the state coordinator. So Merry Christmas to all of us.
Yay. Congratulations, Charlotte, and thank you.
Yay, Charlotte, that's wonderful news.
We in Chatham County greet it with mixed emotions. We're losing
I'm sure.
but we give in to the state. You are gaining.
Yeah. Well, wishing you all a happy holiday and all the best in the new year.
Thank you, Lucy. Same to you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess we're done. How do you sign off?